Imagine deciding to build one of the most recognizable hotels on Earth, not on solid ground but on the sea. Not on bedrock, not on a city block, but on a man-made island surrounded by open water. That is exactly what Dubai did with the Burj Al Arab, the sail-shaped luxury hotel that helped transform the city's image around the world. It reportedly cost around $1 billion, rose more than 1,000 feet into the air, and stood on reclaimed land exposed to waves, salt, wind, and shifting seabed conditions. At first glance, it looks impossible. In many ways it was. Because before Dubai could build the tower, it had to build the ground beneath it. In the 1990s, Dubai was already growing fast, but its leaders wanted something bigger than growth alone. They wanted a global symbol, something instantly recognizable, something that would put Dubai on the same visual map as Sydney, Paris, or New York. Not just another hotel, not just another skyscraper, a landmark. The goal was simple and audacious: create a structure so dramatic that people who had never visited Dubai would know it the moment they saw it. Architect Tom Wright and the team at Atkins answered with a striking idea: a building shaped like the sail of a traditional Arabian dhow. It would stand alone, just offshore, rising out of the water like a futuristic monument. That separation mattered. Inland it might have been impressive. Offshore it could become iconic. But building near open water is never glamorous in practice. It is brutally difficult. The sea does not cooperate. Waves constantly strike the shoreline. Salt attacks materials over time. Wind loads are stronger, and the ground beneath the water is often far less stable than land. In Dubai's case, the challenge was worse because the site was mostly sand. No easy rock platform. No simple concrete base. No shortcut. Yet the vision demanded that exact location about 280 meters or roughly 900 feet offshore. Far enough to create the illusion that the hotel was floating in the Gulf. Close enough to stay connected to the city. Before the tower could rise, engineers had to create an island strong enough to survive waves and stable enough to support a structure more than 1,000 feet tall. That is a huge ask for a pile of sand in the sea. So the first stage of the project was not the hotel, was the island. Workers reclaimed land offshore, creating a platform where no natural building site existed before. But reclaimed land brings a serious problem. Freshly placed sand is loose. Loose sand shifts. And a massive tower cannot sit on shifting ground. To solve that, engineers used a technique called vibro-compaction. Vibrating probes were inserted deep into the sand, shaking the grains until they packed more tightly together. Think of tapping a jar of sugar until the crystals settle and the volume drops. The material becomes denser, stronger, and more stable. That step was critical. Without it, the island could settle unevenly under the enormous weight of the hotel. Then came another challenge: protection. An artificial island in open water cannot simply sit there exposed. Waves would slowly erode it, and storm energy would batter its edges over time. So engineers built a large surrounding breakwater made of rock and specially designed concrete elements. This outer barrier helped absorb and weaken incoming wave energy before it could damage the island itself. And they did not want the barrier to simply bounce the waves back. That can create turbulence and make conditions worse. Instead, parts of the system were designed to dissipate wave energy. In other words, the sea had to be managed, not just blocked. This island building phase alone took years. Out of the project's roughly 5-year construction timeline, about 3 years were spent creating and stabilizing the island and foundation conditions before the tower could truly rise. Once the island was ready, the next problem was the foundation. Most people assume very tall buildings must be anchored directly into bedrock. That is often true. But at the Burj Al Arab site, engineers did not have shallow bedrock to rely on. So they used a different strategy. They installed around 230 concrete piles, each driven roughly 40 meters or about 130 feet into the compacted sand below. Here is the surprising part. These piles were not mainly supported by sitting on hard rock at the bottom. Instead, they relied heavily on skin friction, the resistance created between the outer surface of the pile and the dense surrounding sand. If that sounds strange, think of pushing your hand into wet compact sand and feeling how tightly it grips you. That gripping force, multiplied across many deep piles, can hold enormous loads. It is a powerful solution, but only if the engineering is done correctly. Because if the ground shifts too much, the entire structure above can suffer. And remember, this was not a low-rise beach house. This was a super luxury tower meant to become one of the most recognizable buildings on the planet. Everything depended on the foundation being right. On a man-made island in the sea, right had to mean extraordinarily precise. With the island stabilized and the piles in place, Dubai could finally build the structure the world would come to know. The Burj Al Arab rises to about 321 meters, or roughly 1,053 feet. That is around the height of a 100-story building. Its design is dominated by a giant sail-like form, but making that shape real required far more than good architecture. The structure combined a strong internal concrete system with a dramatic external steel framework that helped create the building's bold profile. That exoskeletal form gave the hotel its visual identity, the giant curved frame and cross-bracing that make it look like a sail catching wind. Then came the building's famous white surface. It is not ordinary fabric. It is a specialized architectural membrane designed to withstand sun, wind, salt, and weather while maintaining the hotel's signature appearance. Inside, the hotel was built to be just as theatrical as the exterior. A massive atrium soars through the center. Suites were made oversized and extravagant. Water, light, color, and gold-toned interiors all reinforced the same message. This was not supposed to be a normal hotel. It was supposed to be a statement. And because the building stood alone offshore, every angle reinforced that idea. It did not just exist in Dubai. It performed for Dubai. Part of what made the Burj Al Arab feel impossible was not only the engineering, it was the combination of engineering and symbolism. Dubai was not simply solving a construction problem. It was staging an image. Build a sail-shaped luxury tower on an artificial island. Connect it to shore with a private bridge. Top it with a helipad. Present it like a futuristic monument. The result was something that looked less like a hotel and more like an idea made physical. And because most people never see the breakwater, the compacted sand, the piles, or the years of marine engineering beneath it, the building appears almost effortless. That illusion is part of its power. The harder the engineering challenge, the cleaner the final image had to look. So when people say the Burj Al Arab looks impossible, they are reacting to a very real truth. A huge amount of invisible complexity was buried beneath a simple, elegant shape. Burj Al Arab looks like a graceful white sail floating off the coast of Dubai. But that image hides years of marine engineering, land reclamation, wave protection, foundation design, and structural precision. It reportedly cost around $1 billion. It rose on an artificial island, and it helped transform Dubai into a global symbol of luxury and impossible-looking construction. So the next time you see the Burj Al Arab, remember, Dubai didn't just build a hotel. It built the ground, the stage, and the illusion first. If you enjoyed this video, like and subscribe.